Welcome to the Bodacious Women in Cannabis podcast, the show where the bold and brilliant women cannabis business leaders share their journey and their expertise. Here's your host, Susan Burns.
Hello, this is Susan Burns. Welcome to Bodacious Women in Cannabis. Today we are really excited to have a special guest, Danielle Simone Brand, and she is a cannabis writer and journalist, and she wrote a novel or a book called Weed Mom, and we're going to hear about that and then some other journeys too. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Susan. Great to be here.
So great to have you here. So you're a writer, to shorthand it, and you used your writing skills to write a book called Weed Mom. So you must be a mother.
Yes.
And you must like weed.
That happens to be true too.
Well, what an interesting combination. So tell us a little bit about your background and how I know you didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to write a book called Weed Mom. So talk to us a little bit about your journey and how did you arrive here that we were able to have this conversation about you and your journeys?
Yeah, I do tell the story in my book because it's kind of an unusual cannabis love story, I say. And the fact is that I really didn't like it or understand it for many years before I finally did, before I had an epiphany and an experience of my own and realized that it's a really useful tool. So backing up a little bit, I went to school for international peace and conflict resolution. I was in a sort of academic and policy-oriented career in Washington, D.C., burned out on that pretty quickly and became a yoga teacher to the lobbyists and the lawyers on Capitol Hill, and really enjoyed that actually for several years, bringing sort of that little bit of peace and conflict resolution to the personal side, to help people who were working on these big, really stressful issues actually find a moment of peace. Yeah. And cannabis to me was just not a wellness tool. I didn't really understand its value in that way. And actually, I saw my husband overusing it for many years, and I was pretty judgmental about it, actually. And, when I say overusing, I mean just, relying on it exclusively as, mental health support, basically, instead of actually relying on a lot of tools that we all need to use, right, to help ourselves be healthy, well, whole, all those things. So for years, I really didn't understand cannabis, did not appreciate it. And then finally, when I did, it was through the lens of freelance writing. So I actually got a couple of assignments in cannabis before I cared or wanted to learn anything myself. But in the process of writing those stories, I interviewed people who were getting benefit. I was reading about studies and new research and realizing, wow, there's a lot more to this plant than I thought, or than most people previously thought. So I came at it through the intellectual route, through writing, and then I was living in California at the time. Cannabis was just becoming legal. It was like right at that moment in 2016 is when we voted for it, and I did vote for legalization. In 2018 January is when it took effect. So there were now dispensaries opening up all around where I was living, and I became curious because of this intellectual pursuit. So I had an experience on my yoga mat. Just took one puff of a vape pen. I was so cautious and so such a newbie. And I had this really beautifully embodied experience on my yoga mat. And from there, it was just a journey of exploration where I fell in love.
Interesting. And so when you did your puff, what was it, a particular strain? Was it a particular, or just something that somebody said, here, try this?
It was a vape pen, a brand called Dosist that was in California. I don't know if they're still there actually, but it had the advantage of dispensing just 2.5 milligrams of THC per puff. So you know what you're getting. Nice. And I really wanted to microdose initially because I was curious and cautious, and I was a mom, and I wasn't, caring for my kids at that particular moment when I took my puff there. But, but I wanted it to be able to fit into my lifestyle in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. And so that began your own personal journey with the plant.
Absolutely. And then, I've come a long way since then, and absolutely plant medicine is what I prefer now. And I prefer working with flower these days. But, there's all these easier entry products, I think, for folks who, are not as comfortable with, burning flower, which is something that I do now quite frequently.
Okay.
So anyway, so in short, go ahead.
I said she's laughing. No, I'm just joking around. So talk to us. When did your book come out? How long did it take to write? What was the inspiration for Weed Mom? What's it about? I have so many questions. Talk to us.
Well, so the inspiration was the fact that I was going on this personal journey of exploration. And like I said, cannabis was just becoming legal where I was living. And as I was writing about it more and more, I found myself kind of gravitating toward the parent stories and the mom stories. And so I was interviewing a lot of women about how cannabis has helped them physically, with a medical condition, or, just feel a little bit healthier, or maybe lean on alcohol less, because as we know, alcohol has a lot of negative consequences and a lot of physical toxicity. So as I was learning all of this and realizing like, okay, there are people benefiting, especially women and moms that I'm interviewing, and women and moms in my own community started coming to me with all their questions. Like, will you go to the dispensary with me? It's overwhelming. I don't know what to choose. What does the research say about anxiety and cannabis? All these different questions. And I realized there's a thirst for knowledge and a real need for this like wellness oriented perspective. So that's why I wrote the book.
It is really complex. The human body is complex. Everybody's system is different. And then the plant is, so amazing, and all the derivatives and combinations and everything. So there is a huge need for that. I've been working in this area for quite a while, and I learn every day new things, and I don't know if I'll ever get it. Let's see your book.
Oh yeah, I know. Same. I'm still learning too. And actually, I just heard this definition of humility being the realization that we still have more to learn. And that's very much how I feel in cannabis. I know a lot, and I still feel humble because there's so much I don't know and we don't know.
Yes, lots to learn.
But you asked what it was about. Sorry.
Go ahead. So
you asked what it was about? Yeah.
Panic Curious Woman's Guide to Healthier Relaxation, Happier Parenting, and Chilling. TF out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I broke it down into, an exploration of how cannabis works in the body and ways to shop, different ways to consume, first of all, different reasons you might be consuming, how to shop at the dispensary, how to look at products and evaluate products for wellness purposes. But then I also wanted to really get into kind of the cultural conversations that we're having now and how these are changing. Like now that it's legal in so many places and access is improving and more people are open about their use, like we have to talk about this, in our communities, with our kids, with other people in our lives, friends, social circles, parents, etc. So, I just want to be part of this changing cultural moment in regards to cannabis.
Yeah. So, and your book has been out for a couple of years, or is it?
Yes, it has. Mm-hmm. It came out in December 2020. So fun time to publish a book.
For Christmas, yeah.
Well, it was also just, that year, 2020, a really wild year for so many folks. Yeah,
it was.
Yep.
It was a wild year for sure. So talk to us about the hidden benefits of having written this book and embarking on the journey of working with moms that are interested or consume cannabis.
Ooh, hidden benefit. So, women and moms have come out of the woodwork really to say, yeah, like this is something that it speaks to my heart, that gives me some sense of permission. Actually, a lot of women have come to me saying, like, I thought I was kind of doing something wrong, or I felt a little guilty, even though I knew that it was helping me. And I knew that I was actually parenting to my best with cannabis in my life. And so it's really gratifying to me to hear people say, I feel more confident now. I feel like I can have conversations finally with the skeptics in my life, or the folks who had no idea, or even my kids, because, responsible conversations with kids is part of this like changing cultural context we're in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed. And have there been any moments along the way here in writing your journey and writing your book in the publication process? I don't know if it's self-published or not, but it isn't. So have there been any periods where you're like, you know what, this is crazy. What am I doing? I just want to give up. And if so, talk to us about that. And how did you manage the challenge?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last few years since the book has come out, I've been talking about it a lot. I've been promoting it, but also just talking about these issues in general. It's not centered only around my book, but, I've become part of this conversation around parents and cannabis. And there are moments when it's pretty disheartening, right? When legalization efforts get rebuffed in a state, or when really negative press comes out, or there's an increase in misinformation about cannabis, which happens like in the news, equating cannabis with violence and mass shootings. Like that's been something that we've been seeing more lately come out, and just, so there are plenty of reasons to get discouraged. Also, the fact that social media just hammers us, and, my Instagram, for instance, that's the place that I reach the most of my readers. And my account has been deleted 3 times there. Each time I've been able to get it back, to get it reinstated, but it takes time and it's not guaranteed. So, these things are disheartening, absolutely. But, what keeps me going is the fact that, people respond so positively, and cannabis changes lives. It gives people, in some cases, back their lives. And that's something worth fighting for.
And thank you for doing for the good fight, being part of the effort. Thank you so much for that.
You too. It's, it takes so many of us working in so many different capacities to push the needle forward.
Yes, it does. It does. And the whole thing about the stigma and all the sort of baggage that we've attached to this beautiful plant. I mean, I had it myself, and I was a consumer in high school and college. But then I stuffed it in the pocket of my bib overalls, and I left at college at the campus when I left there. It was like, okay, now I have to be real. And I remember the first time I went into a dispensary in Colorado, and I had to give my license, and I was like, oh my God. You feel like a criminal, even though it's legal, but I'm a lawyer, and, like, oh, can I do this? And it's just so nerve-wracking. And I think when you take a journey like you have, and do a gentle exploration and try it on yourself and try different things, I think it reveals itself to you in a different way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think that at different moments in life, it can reveal itself very differently and, have a different effect on the person. Because, honestly, before my sort of cannabis awakening and epiphany, it's not like I had never tried it before. Certainly high school, college, there were opportunities, and I did here and there, but I didn't understand it, and it didn't speak to me in the same way. It didn't have the same it didn't meet my needs in the same way that it did a bit later. And I think some of that is just knowledge, right? Like when you're kind of consuming off of the illicit market and you have no idea what you're getting, what the potency is, any of the characteristics of it, it's hard to sort of calibrate how you want to feel. I think with the legal marketplace and labeling and testing and all these things that we have access to, all this information we have access to, it's easier to sort of meet your needs with cannabis. But I do think that over your lifetime, your relationship will change. One's relationship with cannabis will change. It certainly has for me. Yeah. Toward the, the closer side of things.
Can you describe that for us a little bit, your journey and how your relationship has changed? Or is that in your book? And you'll wreck the story for us if you tell us.
Well, I mean, quite simply, just the fact that I didn't see it as a tool for wellness, and then I came to understand it as one, and to really integrate it into my lifestyle. I mean, that has absolutely changed. And also, I think just the way that my body physiologically responds has changed. And I think that over a lifetime, I've heard that many times, and I've heard scientists talk about how, yeah, your endocannabinoid system is in flux, and so the cannabinoids that you take in are going to affect you a little differently over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have advice for, I'm going to stick, since you're a weed mom, with this question, I'm going to just stick for moms. Do you have any advice for moms who want to start exploring, but maybe are a little tentative for all the reasons we know, or maybe some we don't?
Yeah, well, reading my book is a good start. And also getting some support, joining some kind of community, whether it's online or in person. There are so many more groups now dedicated to helping people feel comfortable with plant medicine, and that could be just cannabis, or that could be some other plant medicines too. But, there are communities now, and we don't have to be alone, even if you're living in a state or a place where you feel pretty isolated in terms of your interest or relationship to cannabis. So I'd say, educate yourself, read and talk to folks, and definitely join a community. And obviously for moms, my advice is always start low and go slow. It's, high THC concentrations are not necessary to shift your mood, to support your well-being physically, emotionally, spiritually, all these things. So less is often more.
You can always take more, right?
You can always take more.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
what about women who want to enter the profession working in cannabis? Have you talked to women, whether they're mothers or not? Have you talked to any women in your journey?
Oh, so many. I know a ton of cannabis entrepreneurs who are women, many of whom are moms, and it's a tough space. I mean, let's be honest, it's tough right now. I think that I would say very similar to the canna curious person. My recommendations would be learn a lot, because cannabis is complex, and there are wonderful resources to educate yourself now. Great books, depending on, what aspect of the business you want to work on, but really get to know the cannabis plant and people's long history with it, long relationship with it, the many wonderful benefits and uses. So educate yourself. Obviously, also the legal environment and all the regulatory pieces are so important. So there's a lot to learn. And then secondly, find community, especially if you're a mom or a woman. Find other female entrepreneurs, other women entrepreneurs who want to help support, because I actually have seen a lot of, in cannabis, there can be sort of that, like the cutthroat, competitive feeling between folks, and there can be really a supportive, collaborative environment too. So find those people who want to support and collaborate, because they're there.
They are, and it's an awesome community once you find it.
It really is. It really is. I have been so uplifted by the other canna moms and cannabis entrepreneurs that I've met.
Is there, I know it's an evolving relationship. Is there something that you're really loving right now, a type of product or a strain or something that you personally are?
Oh, well, I love playing with the different cannabinoids that come out. So CBG is something that I'm enjoying right now for its like really mellow, level-headed, just slight anxiety reduction. And then I like to layer my cannabinoids in. So my THC flower, my favorite flower is usually high in limonene. So I like those lemony strains. I like Sour Diesel, Jack Herer. Yeah, those are my faves at the moment.
Those are nice. I just recently tried a product that was a THC CBG combo, and I'm in love with that. Yeah,
nice,
it's
like
a very nice combination.
Edible?
Pardon?
Was
Yes,
it edible?
Yeah, it was.
Hello.
So
yeah, I have CBD, CBG, and I've seen other combos like 3 cannabinoid combos too, which I love.
yeah. Hey, well, so talking about your book, where can we find it?
It can be It can be found on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, any place you buy your books online, or you can go into your local bookstore and say, hey, can you order a copy of Weed Mom? And then maybe they'll get a couple more. And it's always just wonderful to support your local bookstore that way.
There you go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my local bookstore.
Awesome. Yeah, they can easily order it. And then maybe they'll stock a couple copies for their shelves. So I love that too.
So tell us, Danielle, what makes you bodacious? What's your unique brand of bodaciousness?
I think my unique brand of bodaciousness is being willing to just show myself as a mom, as a person, as someone who's health oriented and cares about the future of our planet, and who uses cannabis every day in healthy ways and is starting that conversation among women and moms in North America.
I love it. So, Danielle, where can we find you?
I can be found on my website, daniellesimonebrand.com, or Instagram, same thing, Danielle Simone Brand. I also have a Weed Mom book at Instagram.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, and we appreciate everything you're doing. Keep on doing it, and wishing you the utmost of success and impact on your journey.
Thank you so much, Susan. I really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise.